Chris Richman Show for Thursday, May 1st, 2025. Happy May Day to all the communist, socialist scumbags out there. This is your day, right? For those of you who don't know the history of May Day, May Day is basically a communist holiday. Essentially what it does is it celebrates the, quote, workers' revolutions around the world, which is, communist code phrase. So, I don't know. Go figure. Anyway, it is what it is. So happy May Day to all you out there who celebrate. And for the rest of us, it's just the acknowledgement that the first third of the year is over already. Kind of crazy, isn't it? So for those of you, want to real quick talk about the video we were able to finally post yesterday. I finally got it to work, which, again, did that myself. And I don't have all these fancy things that some of these other podcasters apparently have. I figured out how to do it myself, but got it to work. So that will become a subscriber benefit. If you are a paid subscriber, you will have access to the video podcasts. If you want, that's obviously you don't have to. And then for driving home, it's rather nicer not to have the video in some cases. So anyway, it's up to you. I hope you will choose to subscribe. It's super cheap. $60 a year? So ridiculously cheap. Much less than you would spend on coffee, for example. Although coffee is delicious, no doubt about it. By the way, if you have one of these, if you're not watching the video, you can't really see this. If you have any of these cups, Walmart sold them a couple of years ago. They're amazing. And if you don't want them, let me know and I'll buy them off you because I love these cups. They're brilliant. Okay, enough talking. Let's get rocking, shall we say? I want to start off this segment unusually here. I want to start this off with a whole bunch of stories about
stupid libs.
That's right, stupid libs. And the reason why is because, good gravy, there's a lot of stupid libs out in the news right now. It is absolutely crazy. Nuts, even. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and start with the state of Illinois. Now, I wish, actually, you know what? No, we'll come to Illinois in just a second. I want to start off with this so-called new assault weapons ban that they're trying to get through on us here. Chris Murphy, who is a Democrat senator, had this to say about doing an assault weapons ban and how this was off PBS News, by the way, reposted, of course, by the Firearm Policy Coalition. So let's go ahead and hear what this has to say.
Lives. So we are going to keep pressing because not only is the assault weapons ban the right thing to do, it is the popular thing to do.
No, it's
every single year when you go into the field and ask Americans what they think.
Chris, with all due respect, if it was a popular thing to do, the electoral map for the 2024 election wouldn't look like this. Okay? If you look at an electoral map, it is overwhelmingly blue across the country. The only blue areas are in states where you have a big city or down near the border. Those are blue areas, but the rest of it is red. Duh. So let's keep listening here.
Of an assault weapons ban, of just making sure that these weapons designed to kill as many people as quickly as possible are solely in the hands of the military and law enforcement by increasing.
So it's okay for the military and law enforcement to have weapons that, by your admissions, or your quote here, is supposedly, quote, designed to kill as many people as possible. And you want the military and police to have that, but not civilians. When the whole point of the Second Amendment was to make it so that the civilian population, the militia, as it is actually called, the whole point of the Second Amendment was to make sure that civilians did have that. That way, if there was an overactive, overreaching government somewhere, we could effectively resist it. But you don't think that's okay. Let's keep playing.
Numbers, they tell Congress that it's past time to stand up and do the right thing by our kids.
No, actually they don't, Chris. And in fact, if an assault weapons ban, so to speak, was so popular, then why in the hell did it only squeak past in 94 because of a bunch of spineless, gutless rhinos? And two, why did it sunset in 2004? Why did it not really have any effect whatsoever on crime? I mean, where is this? There's nothing popular about it. There's nothing positive about it.
So I'm really glad to be here. I thank Senator Schiff for spending the time to honor the work that Dianne Feinstein did to bring us to this moment.
Bring us to this moment when the Constitution apparently doesn't matter to you, sir. Again, this is an AWB, an assault weapons ban, a so-called assault weapons ban, which, by the way, an assault weapon could be literally anything. Anything. I could use this pen, this marking pen I'm using here. I could use that as an assault weapon properly used, right? It's called what is it? A weapon of circumstance or something like that. But basically, if you're well trained, you can make anything a weapon. I mean, really, honestly, you could take a glass, right? A cup. This is a ceramic cup, right? Make it a weapon. Smack somebody around with it. You could take the candle wax that I have nearby here. You know, if it's heated up, turn that into a weapon. Throw it on somebody. You know, that kind of thing. Your hands are weapons. Now, I don't say that meaning, you know, I'm like Jackie Chan or something like that, or somebody who knows, you know, some kind of martial art. No, I'm just saying these are the original weapons. Your hands, your feet, your head even. Okay? I'm just saying. It's an assault weapon, quote unquote, can be anything. Now, in this case, they're trying to say that it's AR and AK pattern style firearms. Here's the thing. If you want to, and this is something that's not often discussed, by the way. Again, the Second Amendment is designed so that we meaning the non-military, the civilian population, have the same or reasonable facsimiles of the weapons that the military uses. Now, I had someone say, well, does that mean that you could get, you know, Stinger missiles? If you could afford it, sure. You know, I mean, unless you're working for another country, then maybe not so much. But if you also want to know how disingenuous this argument is, look at who Mr. Murphy here, Senator Murphy, is willing to send so-called assault weapons to. Ukraine. He's totally willing to send them over there. Why? Well, because it gets him good press. Now, notice that the people in Ukraine who these so-called assault weapons are being given to, they don't have to go through a background check. They don't have to go through any kind of vetting process, you know, and they could be a Krinkhoff style gun, a short barrel rifle, that meaning, you know, it could be a short barreled select fire weapon. You know, that is what we call a 2-stamp gun here in the U.S. in that, well, assuming you could even do it, but let's say it was made prior to May 19th, 1986. In order to transfer that gun into private ownership, you would have to pay for 2 tax stamps. Now, of course, with the ridiculously stupid Hughes Amendment from 1986 that went active May 19th, 1986, part of the Firearm Owners Protection Act, a civilian can't own a select fire weapon. But, of course, we can send them over to other countries where they'll be used against us. Taliban. Mujahideen. Sorry. Wow. Cough. But yeah, seriously. Afghanistan, right? We send all kinds of weapons and stuff over to the Mujahideen to fight the Soviets. And guess what? They ended up getting used against us. Weirdly enough, right? The Taliban, you know, we left a whole bunch of stuff over there. JoJo did. Thanks, plugs. Really appreciate that. Those are going to be used against our men and women. I mean, history is replete with examples of us sending arms and other types of weaponry over to other countries or other groups, no big deal, right? No big deal. Pfft, come on. But Senator Murphy doesn't talk about that because that won't get him votes. Now, staying in the same vein and the same idea of
stupid libs.
That's right, stupid libs. We go to one of the dumbest states in the union. And I'm not talking about the rank and file people. I'm talking about the leadership here. Please remember that. And again, staying with the assault weapons thing, so-called assault weapons thing. Brandy Cruz posted this, and it is bloody brilliant. So well done, Brandy. Big fan of Brandy Cruz. She is about as centrist. She's right. I would say she's right centrist. She is, to the right on many things, but once in a while she'll be a little more left. Not commonly, but sometimes. And in this case, she was talking about a Democrat lawmaker, Tara Simmons. Now, Tara Simmons voted to ban so-called assault weapons and so-called high-capacity magazines. They're actually standard capacity, but hey, when have facts ever stopped anybody on the left side from doing anything? So Tara, the problem with that is she just posted pictures of herself using both. And apparently she's gone on Brandy's show this afternoon, or will be going on there, to talk about this. Now, it gets better. I can't really see how long the barrel is here, but it looks like she's using a braced pistol for her, quote, rifle, because it sure looks like it has a pistol brace on it. It's got the little strap, that kind of thing, a stabilizing brace, which would be very interesting because last I checked, Washington State was having a fit over that too. And of course, again, she's using pistols. Now, the magazine she has in the rifle appears to be a 30-round mag. Now, it could be limited to 10 rounds, possibly. Anyway, so let me read the quote or the tweet here from Tara Simmons. Kind of sad that single women need to learn how to protect themselves these days, but I couldn't ask for a better teacher. Thank you for all you've done to make me feel safe, Daria P. Ilgen. Okay. Here's the thing about this too. So she just illustrates the entire problem with liberal thought. Rules for thee. Of course, the first is rules for thee, not for me. Okay. So you can't have standard capacity magazines. You can't have, semi-automatic so-called assault rifles, but I can because I am a lawmaker. The other part of that course is women needing to learn to protect themselves these days. Well, if I was a woman wanting to learn to protect myself, don't you think it would be better if I had the ability to protect myself, one, using a pistol, a sidearm, as it were, but also training on semi-automatic rifles. They're very easy to use. ARs, people don't realize this. An AR is a very, very easy rifle to use. So is an AK, honestly, but I prefer the AR. To me, it's a little more logical. And again, that's probably because I've used it so many times. But the point is very low recoil. And again, something where if you absolutely have to defend yourself in no uncertain terms, it's a good little platform to have, especially if you are out in the open. Now, it also, if you're using a larger caliber in an AR platform, either an AR-15 or an AR-10, so for example, like 300 Blackout, right? 300 Blackout can be used to harvest meat fairly well, and so can 5.56 millimeter. But 300 Blackout, I would argue, might be in closer ranges a little bit more effective. It's debatable. Now, going along with this is, of course, suppression. And when suppression comes into play, a larger caliber like a 300 Blackout would be wonderful. For example, I have a 300 Blackout. It is a braced pistol. I will probably eventually register it as do a Form 1 and register it as a short-barreled rifle, simply because then it gives me a little bit more flexibility. But the point is that 300 Blackout suppressed is a very, very effective home defense gun. Very light recoil, especially with the suppressor on it. And let's face it, getting hit by a 220 grain slug is no fun for anyone, right? Now, in terms of handguns, again, it makes sense. You'd want to learn how to use those. It does, right? Makes total sense. So I find it interesting that she is learning how to do this when her party does everything they can to keep anybody who is not military or law enforcement. And frankly, I think if they had their choice, even they wouldn't have them, but they try and keep guns out of any kind of civilian's hands. So again, the irony is thick in this post. All right. Now, next up on the stupids list, because again, we are in the portion of the show, which is
stupid libs.
That's right. Let's go to the state of Illinois. I was going to go to this first, and I said, nah, let's do this other part first. Illinois is trying to ban, and I'm not joking about this, they are trying to ban Glocks. This is from Bearing Arms. Illinois Democrats, written by Cam Edwards, formerly of the NRA. Illinois Democrats introduced bill banning sale of Glock handguns. I am not joking about this. Let's go ahead and read this article. Illinois Democrats are ramping up their war on gunmaker Glock with a new bill that would ban the sale of some of the most popular handguns in the country. I would say they are the most, but let's see here. The city of Chicago is already suing the gunmaker, claiming it has refused to redesign its handguns to prevent them from being illegally converted to full auto fire through the use of a small plastic switch. Let me just take a second and think of the incredible amount of stupidity in that statement. And if you honestly think about it, you'll probably say,
that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, you probably would say that is the dumbest thing you've ever heard. Refusing to redesign its handguns to prevent them from being illegally converted to fire full auto through the use of a small plastic switch. Oh, golly. That's idiotic. If anybody has sufficient knowledge, they can convert nearly any firearm that is semi-automatic into fully automatic. It really isn't all that hard to do. Now, doing it safely is a whole nother matter, of course. But in terms of what Glock produces semi-automatic handguns. That is what they do. They produce semi-automatic handguns. That's all they produce. They do not produce revolvers. They do not produce pistol caliber carbines. They do not produce rifles. They do, I guess they do produce some, other pieces of equipment, but when it comes to firearms or arms in general, they produce semi-automatic handguns. Now, if someone wants to go out and acquire this said small plastic switch, illegally, by the way, then why would Glock bear responsibility for that? That would be like saying, well, we found a way to say that modified vehicles, cars, are more likely to get people killed than unmodified cars. So every car manufacturer in the world must now redesign their cars so they cannot be modified in any way. Do we really think that would happen? I mean, the stupidity of that lawsuit is staggering. Absolutely staggering. Okay, now let's just keep reading. Officials are seeking, among other things, to block the sale of Glock handguns to Chicago residents. And now a pair of Illinois lawmakers, they need to stop calling people lawmakers, have teamed up with Everytown and Moms Demand Action, so two virulently anti-gun groups, to enact that same ban via legislation. House Bill 4045 and its companion bill in the Senate would allow anyone who knowingly manufactures, sells, offers to sell, purchases, receives, manufactures, imports, or transfers a, quote, convertible pistol, unquote, to be charged with unlawful possession of a weapon, a Class 4 felony in the state, punishable by a minimum of 1 year in prison and up to 3 years behind bars and a $25,000 fine. If the bill becomes law, gun dealers in Illinois could still sell Glocks to law enforcement and the military, as well as private security protecting nuclear sites. So, again, rules for thee, but not for me. But selling some of the most popular pistols in the country to we the people would be a criminal offense. Now, here's the thing. Again, these Glock switches, and I'm using quotations there, are already illegal. Well, let me put it this way. If it were not for the Hughes Amendment, they would already be regulated under the National Firearms Act, which I know it's unconstitutional. I'm not debating that, but I'm just telling you they would already be regulated. And because of the Hughes Amendment, they are illegal since they're manufactured after May 19th, 1986. Thus, they're already illegal. So, plus, in addition to this, I'm trying to go through all, it's tough to get through all the problems with this bill. Convertible pistol. So basically any semi-automatic pistol ever made would fall into that category. It would. It absolutely would. Because any pistol that has a sear could theoretically be made and is semi-automatic again, could theoretically be made automatic. So this is basically going to ban semi-automatic handguns. Anyway, Illinois, let's keep reading this. Illinois already banned the switches that convert semi-automatic pistols to fully automatic firearms in the Protect Illinois Communities Act. Along with banning so-called large capacity magazines and so-called assault weapons. But every town claims that HB 4045 is needed, as it is not possible to fully realize the rapid fire device ban unless you also target the firearms compatible with them. Well, that's a slippery slope. I mean, hell, by that logic, they should ban belt loops on jeans. Absolutely they should. Because if you've ever heard of bump fire, you know what I'm talking about. You hook your thumb through your jeans, right? And then you grab onto the pistol or the rifle, like an AR or whatever it is, and you hold it steady and you pull forward with just enough force to actuate the trigger and then hold that. And guess what? Boom, 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 boom. You get rapid fire. That's the same way a bump stock works. Same principle. So are we going to be banning belt loops? I'm curious. Now, admittedly, firing from the hip is not super duper accurate unless you're really, really good at it. Of course, that was one of the reasons one of the design goals of the AR is to be fired from the hip, strangely enough, which is kind of weird. Anyway, let's keep reading here. Switches make handguns significantly more dangerous, and it's far beyond time we directly address the carnage they cause in our communities, said State Representative Justin Slaughter, ironically enough named, sponsor of HB 4045. This legislation has two aims: keep our communities safe and incentivize the gun industry to produce safer products. We're excited to introduce this legislation to our colleagues in Springfield. Okay. Hey, Justin, and I'm just going to throw this out there, Miss State Rep Slaughter, again, ironically named. How about, crazy idea here, you go and hit the root cause analysis, which is, why are you not addressing the amount of kids in gangs? Why are you not trying to bring morality and common sense, and I'm not talking liberal common sense, which is anything but common sense into this, thus addressing the problem of kids thinking that it's a good idea to go and spray down someone they don't like, doing trying to do a drive-by, okay? Chicago has some of the most insane deaths, or gang violence in the entire country. It has more deaths by firearm, as I recall, than any other part of the country. So how about instead of taking the guns away from people, we address the root cause of it, which is more the society that people are growing up in. Because guess what? I can go put a switch on my Glock, right? And by the way, does this affect, let's get back to another root cause here. Does this HB 4045, does that affect criminals? Does it? It doesn't at all. Because guess what? Criminals, surprisingly enough, and I know this is a huge thing, criminals don't follow the law. Brain blowing, mind blowing, brain scattering idea there. They don't follow the law. So by passing this, are we actually stopping criminals? Or are we merely putting something out there that is going to penalize people for something they probably aren't going to do anyway? Just wondering. I mean, this is absolutely stupid. Absolutely stupid. And again, let me put it to you this way, guys. If you are, let's say they get this overturned as unconstitutional, okay? I mean, assuming it passes, which it probably will, considering I think the entire legislature and the governor, of course, in Illinois are liberal. They're not going to stop. They're not going to go, oh, man, we lost. Liberals don't do that. They go, crap, they caught us this time. How do we find a way to make it sneakier so they can't catch us next time? Just saying. All right. Wow. Guns modified with switches continue to show up at Illinois crime scenes and create carnage in Illinois communities. Okay, so you just admitted it's criminals that have them. Crime scenes. Criminals. Said Debbie Thelig, a volunteer with the Illinois chapter of Moms Demand Action. So someone who probably has no idea what the hell she's talking about. HB 4045 helps cut off the flow of these deadly weapons at the source. Really, where's the source, Debbie? Where is it? Where's the source of the Glock switches? Because a Glock pistol is not the source of an illegal product. A Glock pistol is a legal product. And if you try and ban a legal product, it will not go well for you. This bill does nothing. It is, as usual with most liberal legislation, nothing. It does nothing. Mere possession, let's go back to the article. Mere possession of a switch is already a crime under both state and federal law. So there are already tools in place to go after illicit traffickers who sell the switches on the black market and criminals who illegally convert their pistols to fire full auto. Slaughter's bill wouldn't do anything to address the trigger pullers who are actually causing the damage he complains about. Exactly. Instead, it would be average Illinois residents and federally licensed gun dealers who would feel the impact of this bill. Duh. I mean, this is stupid. But again, it is a liberal bill, so stupid kind of is in the name, right? Kind of just, is what it is. All right, let's go take a quick music break here, and then we will be back and we'll discuss our next set of topics. All right, we will be right back. Okay, so I find it mildly annoying. I really do. When you have people basically post clickbait. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm talking about people who will put something up and they'll either do it in a way that encourages you to click on it, but it's not anything about that, or it's blatantly opposed to what the actual story is about. Case in point, there was a post by a user called the Black Tucker Carlson Jr., where it says, Black Americans viciously attack an elderly white woman and her husband. Now I'm looking at this and I'm saying, wow, that doesn't look like they're attacking the person. That's strange. And it turns out they're not. It turns out these are, I believe it's 2, perhaps 3 young black men. And I mean, you know, they look like they might be the gangster type, right? They got the hair all over the place. They got their pants halfway down to their knees. But what they're doing is they're helping an elderly couple get into their car. They are being good, productive citizens, which is the way most young black men are. Most young black men are not criminals. I mean, this is absolutely insane. And I don't understand. I don't get it. Now, he said this, you know, he's like, hey, he does this so he can get people to actually see the goodness in people. Which, okay, that's fine, but I don't know. I guess my approach would be just post it as is. Post it as young black men who, you know, who may be mistaken for gangsters are actually very good community citizens. I don't know. I don't know how you would say it. But I mean, good grief. This just is silly. I mean, like I watched the video and I'm going, the initial photo, again, shows a white woman. It shows an elderly white man, kind of bent over a little bit, and an elderly white woman who is very obviously struggling to stand. It shows one or each of the black men on the young black men on either side of her, but there's no. This is why I clicked on it, because there's no hint of malice on their faces from what you can see. Their posture doesn't indicate it. All the nonverbals are showing this is not what it says. And yeah, you watch it and they're helping this elderly lady get into her car. And the elderly white man says, you know, hey, thanks guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks, fellas. It's a great exchange. I mean, it warms your heart to watch this. And I don't know. Like I said, I know it's done kind of in jest, but that's not something I jest about. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so good on these guys, these young men. Well done. I hope they are. I have a feeling they probably know the Lord. I'm going to guess that. If they don't, I hope they will at some point in the near future here. And I hope these guys are influencing their younger siblings, their younger friends, you know, anybody that they know to be good people like they are. And again, it doesn't matter the color of the skin or whatever. The only reason why I brought it up was because it was in the click line. But stuff like this is what we need to know, or what we need to see. Because this right here is the majority. People helping other people. That's the majority of this country. That's the majority of the world, honestly. Not just this country, around the world. It's not people freaking out in a McDonald's or in an airport and getting into a giant brawl. That's not the majority of the citizenry. Come on. I don't know. It's not super sensical to me. So, and again, it's not something I would joke about personally. All right. Let's move on here a little bit. Oh boy, here we go. I wish I could say we were done. I wish I could say we were done with
stupid libs,
but we're not. We're not even close, sadly. God, let's start with our favorite
political whore of the week.
Yes, and once again, Jasmine Crockett has taken the title. She has reclaimed her place as
political whore of the week.
That's right. So let's listen to what Jasmine did to deserve this high honor. Let's hear what she said.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes, all I got to say is y'all need to get these fools out of here.
Who wants to tell her? Huh? Who wants to tell her? Who wants to tell Jasmine that that's exactly what's going on? That she is, in fact, dumb as a rock. Shall we tempt fate by listening to it again? I mean, do we really want to? I guess.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their
civil rights, against their constitutional rights. First of all, Jasmine, the people, for the most part, that are being thrown out of the country are here illegally and are criminals, by the way. Not just because they're here illegally. They have committed additional crimes since coming here. They don't have constitutional rights. They are not citizens of the country, so thus they do not have constitutional rights. And I know that's difficult to grasp for you because, that requires thought. And you'd think someone with a JD would actually have the ability to think critically. Not the case. Not always the case, and especially in this case. So let's keep going here.
Constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country?
You mean like the Chinese sending over military-age males to be sleeper cells, or or Al-Qaeda, or, some of the Central and South American countries in Mexico sending some really not nice people up here because they don't want to deal with them. And yes, that does happen. Am I saying that that's all the people that come over here? No, I am not. Not even by any stretch of the imagination am I saying that. So please don't try that with me. Just don't. Save yourself the time. Wow. Gosh. But again, who wants to tell her that that's the whole reason why we're deporting people? Along with this, so going along with this level of stupidity by Jasmine here, and a kind of a coordinating story, is this. This is from the LA Times by Kate Linthicum. Anyway. This is honest to God. This is the title of the story. I'm not joking. I wish I could say I was, but I am not joking here. Trump promised vast deportations to Mexico. Why are the numbers so low? Subhead: massive deportations from the U.S. have yet to materialize in Mexico, but Mexico is accepting migrants from third countries. Let's read this. This is Dateline Mexico City. Since President Trump took office in January, vowing the, quote, largest deportation operation in American history, Hector Silva has been bracing for an influx of deportees at the 2 migrant shelters he runs in the Mexico border city of Reynosa. It hasn't arrived. Silva's shelters, which can house up to 5,000 people, have been empty for months. The truth is, we haven't received the massive wave of deportees they warned us about. I expected something very different. Okay. Now, this is funny because they kind of actually they shoot themselves in the foot on two things. This is meant to be a hit piece on Trump, right? Okay, you guys understand that. Let's read more. Under Trump, the U.S. is deporting fewer people to Mexico than it was at this time last year, new data show. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said this week that since Trump took office January 2nd, the U.S. has deported 33,311 Mexicans. That is considerably fewer than in 2024, when the Plugs administration deported 52,253 Mexicans between February and April. So, do you see why I say they shot themselves in the foot a little bit on this? Did you hear it? They said, now, what's the thing that Jasmine Crockett just said? Man, and by the way, she went back to ghetto Jasmine, right? Let's listen to Jasmine Crockett's thing again here. Let's see.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country...
Okay, so the rest of it. Liberals, like Jasmine here, have been going, oh, I can't believe this. Trump's just throwing people out of the country. It's horrible. He's deporting all these people. And crying and all that. They just said that Plugs deported more people than Trump has. Huh. And did they talk about Obama? Because Obama really deported a lot of people. Huh. Well, isn't that weird? So what they're saying is the Plugs administration, a Democrat president, deported more people than literal Orange Hitler? Huh. Well, that kind of defeats their argument, doesn't it? Weird. That's just the first thing, though. But let me ask you this. There's another weird thing here. And I think they might actually get into it. Let's see. There are several explanations. They meant to say explanations, and they said explanation. So LA Times editors, maybe check your stuff. Illegal border crossings have dropped to their lowest point this century. Now, I know the century is only 25 years in. We're only a quarter of the way through. And yes, I just realized I said that we're a quarter of the way through this century already. Can anybody else not believe that? Whew. Anyway. Illegal border crossings have dropped to their lowest point this century, thanks to a Mexican campaign to interdict northbound migrants and Trump's actions to end asylum at the U.S. border. The LA Times. Okay, LA Times. Let me ask you this, and you guys out there as well. What do you think has had more effect on people coming across the border? The Mexican side of it, these northbound interdictions that are, we've read, they really don't know what they're doing over there. Or Trump making it very, very, very clear. If you are captured, if you're caught, you're going to be waiting in Mexico. You will not be allowed to return. And if you're caught again, it's going to be bad for you. You will be deported. We will come and find you and deport you. Tom Homan is finding people. Kristi Noem is finding people. What do you think has had more effect on chilling illegal immigration? Just curious. You know the answer to that question, of course. All right. And to their credit, here we go. Many of the deportees counted under Biden were migrants, and again, illegal immigrants, but the LA Times doesn't say that. So I'm going to read it as it should be written. Let's put it that way. Were illegal immigrants apprehended at the border and turned back quickly. The Trump administration, however, has been focused on deporting illegal immigrants already inside the U.S., where locating, detaining, and removing them is more complicated and more expensive than it is at the border. Okay. But they both have a chilling effect. And guess what? The people that are trying to cross under Biden, the one thing they don't say is apprehended at the border and then turned back quickly. But were they? Because here's the thing. Under Biden, the border really didn't exist. I mean, we had how many? 4 million people come across? So they talk about 52,250. Let me ask you this. How many of those people then turned right around and came right back across? Whoops. Let's see here. Looking. Wow, big surprise. They don't cover that number. Big surprise. I know you're shocked too. I know you are. They don't cover that number. They don't cover the number that just turned around and came right back across the border. Or the ones who were just, went on their CBP One app and got an appointment and then never showed up. They don't talk about that, do they? And as for the, this article, they again, like most liberal articles, they dance around the truth. They come close, but they never really get there. And that's what this one does. Oh, well, there's fewer people coming across, but, it is what it is. No, that's one of the reasons why there's fewer deportations, is because we don't have to deport if they're not here. If they're staying in Mexico, then it's the Mexican government's problem, not ours. Unless they come across the border, we have no concern about them. But we can also deter that very effectively. So once again, stupidity on display in rampant numbers. All right, let's see here. What else have we? Blah, 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 blah. Trying to think what else was there about that? Meh. There's another couple things that are just absolutely stupid. All right, we're done with that part. Let's go back for just a second. Back to
stupid libs.
Yeah, let's go back to stupid libs and let's illustrate a couple more here because, well, why not? First of all, this was posted, this was retweeted by someone named Greg. Wayward Greg is his user handle. And it's a picture of a woman holding a sign, and I'm going to read the sign to you. I would strongly advise you, if you are driving or if you are working and listening to this maybe on your phone or through your AirPods, perhaps, that you steel yourself and that maybe you pull over if you're driving, because the stupidity of what I'm about to read is such that it may cause you to go into involuntary spasms. It may cause you to absolutely take your eyes off of the road, what you're supposed to be concentrating, and therefore drive off the road, which would be bad. But let's go ahead and read this. The sign says, and again, I'm not joking about this. Jesus was woke. He, 1, fed the poor, healed sick, I think she meant healed the sick, protected kids, and accepted all. Okay? To this person, that's woke. To this person, that's woke. Oops, that's not what I wanted.
Man, that's messed up like Monica's dress.
It is. And here's why. Thank you, Deadpool, by the way. Here's why. Because that is the anti-woke. That is the very definition of not woke. Feeding the poor. And it's fed the poor. She put fed the poor, which is fine. If you're feeding the poor, first of all, I wouldn't call that woke or non-woke. I would call that, again, being a good citizen. But the other half of that is, if you go to, let me put it this way. Jesus didn't necessarily feed the poor. He did, but he also taught them how to feed themselves in a lot of ways. In that he said, hey, don't be lazy. I mean, and again, I'm paraphrasing here. Don't be lazy. A lazy man won't accomplish anything. So do it yourself. And again, I'm paraphrasing. Apologies. Which is not what the woke ideology, the people who support the woke ideology want. They want government to be everything, to hand it out. Essentially, if we were to put it into terms during biblical times, woke would be what the Sadducees and Pharisees wanted, right? In terms of at least in New Testament times, where we will provide you with, you're not clean enough to sacrifice to God, and give thanks to God. So we're going to do it for you. You just have to bring it to us. They wanted to be the doorway to God, which of course is absurd. Now, healing the sick. Okay, again, the people who support a woke ideology want you to rely on pharma, want you to rely on, instead of, going out and exercising and becoming more healthy, they want you to take Ozempic or some other GLP-1, okay? Instead of going out and, I don't know, instead of going out and eating healthier foods, like, for example, steak and chicken and fruits and vegetables. No. They want you to go out and eat, what is it called? Beyond Meat. They want you to eat plant-based burgers. And I'm using the quotation marks, the air quotes, burgers. Fake meats. They want you to go out and eat crickets. Okay? There's no healing there. They want you to be completely reliant on pharma to live, or on big government to live. Protected kids. This one is the most hilarious. Out of the 4 points here, fed the poor, healed the sick. She meant to put a "the" there. Protected kids and accepted all. The protected kids one is the most absurd part. People who are woke have no desire to protect kids. None. Zip, zero, nada. Woke is the very definition of anyone that comes between me and the little ones would be better off having a millstone tied around their neck and being thrown into the ocean. And again, I'm paraphrasing horribly there. That's the woke ideology. They're the ones that go through and try and prevent children, and kids in this case, as they call it. They're the ones preventing kids from getting to the Lord Jesus. They're the ones that are preventing them from finding out about God. That to me is inarguable. I don't see how you could possibly argue that. Look at the record. I mean, when you've got people in, what is it, the California Assembly, who are trying to make it so that it's not a felony to solicit 17 and 18-year-old kids for sex, how do you figure that the woke are on the side of protecting kids? Lastly, accepted all. Jesus was woke because he accepted all. Okay, first of all, not even remotely woke, and not even remotely true, because the woke ideology, if you don't agree with the woke ideology 100% of the time, guess what happens to you? You are mocked, you're laughed at, you're impugned, you're made fun of, et cetera, so on and so forth. You're called homophobic, transphobic, so-called transphobic. You're called racist, bigot. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on and on. If you don't accept woke ideology, Jesus did not do that. Now, to be fair, the other half of that's not true. Jesus did accept all. He said, yes, anyone can follow me. Anyone can follow me. But I am not here to unite. I am here to divide. I am here to divide the people who will accept and acknowledge that, I am the truth, the light, or the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father but through me. From the people who will not say that, who will not accept that. So yes and no on that, right? And again, the fact that you put woke in there completely throws that out, because woke does not even remotely accept all people. In fact, it rejects anybody who isn't completely aligned with it. If you deviate from woke ideology, which, by the way, evolves constantly, if you remotely deviate from it, you are reviled. You are a pariah. So spare me with this. This is without question one of the dumbest signs I've ever seen. I don't know who this woman is. I don't have a clue. Maybe Greg, who put it up, is. Maybe it's an AI. I don't know. But the funny thing about, if this is a joke or humor, the best humor is always based in reality. And this is absolutely, if this is made up, this is absolutely something I would expect to see when I go to Spokane, okay? Which, by the way, we'll talk about Spokane later. Spokane has completely gone off the deep end. They are way out in the weeds. That's even 10 years ago, I would have said Spokane was still, fairly conservative. Now, I can't say that. I would say the city of Spokane as a whole has gone left as hard, very, very hard. I fully expect Spokane will turn into Seattle Junior if it hasn't already. But, I mean, you will see horrible things start happening in Spokane very, very soon. And there's a reason why people are getting the hell out of Spokane and getting to, if they're going to stay in Washington, going to other places. People who actually have common sense. If they don't want to stay in Washington, they're going across the border into Post Falls or wherever. But yeah, wow. That's just crazy to me. Spokane has gone nuts. Like I said, we'll talk about that in the second segment today. All right. Which actually, this is a good point to stop. There are more things to look at, of course. We'll talk about some Ilhan Omar stuff. We'll talk about Canada. We will meet a young man named Kyle. And Kyle has some problems. He does. Kyle, unfortunately, is exemplary of a lot of kids these days. So we'll meet Kyle in the next segment. Talking of which, this has been the first segment, number 1, of the Chris Richman Show for Thursday, May 1st, May Day, 2025. We'll be back for the second segment very soon. We look forward to seeing you then.